Hello, happy Friday. This is the second time I'm recording this because I forgot to plug my headphones in. Oh dear. Somebody stepped on them. Stop chewing on my headphone cords. Chewing on headphone cords is not good for kittens. Chapter 8, we visit the Demon Dude Ranch. We're going to go straight into this. Hello, I'm Caligon. Okay. We finally stopped in a room full of waterfalls. The floor was one big pit, ringed by slippery stone walkway. Around us, on all four walls, water tumbled from huge pipes. The water spilled down into the pit, and even when I shined a light, I couldn't see the bottom. Briarius slumped against the wall. He scooped up water in a dozen hands and washed his face. "The pit goes straight down, straight to Tartarus," he murmured. "I should jump in and save you the trouble." "Don't talk that way," Annabeth told him. "You can come back to camp with us. You can help us prepare. You know more about fighting titans than anybody." "I have nothing to offer," Briarius said. "I have lost everything." "What about your brothers?" Tyson asked. "The other two must still stand as tall as mountains. We can take you to them." Briarius' expression morphed into something even sadder. His grieving face. "They are no more. They faded." The waterfalls thundered. Tyson stared into the pit and blinked tears out of his eye. "What exactly do you mean, they faded?" I asked. "I thought monsters were immortal, like gods." "Percy," Grover said weakly, "even immortality has limits." Thank you. "Even immortality has limits. Sometimes monsters get forgotten and they lose the will to stay immortal." Looking at Grover's face, I wondered if he was thinking of Pan. I remembered something Medusa had told us once, how her sisters, the other two Gorgons, had passed on and left her alone. Then last year, Apollo had said something about the old god Helios disappearing and leaving him with the duties of the sun god. I'd never thought about it too much, but now, looking at Briarius, I realized how terrible it would be to be so old, thousands of years old. Hi, Cassiopeia. Okay. And totally alone. "I must go," Briarius said. "Kronos' army will invade camp," Tyson said. "We need help." Briarius hung his head. "I cannot, Cyclops." "You are strong." "Not anymore." Briarius rose. "Hey!" I grabbed one of his arms and pulled him aside, where the roar of the water would hide our words. "Briarius, we need you. In case you haven't noticed, Tyson believes in you. He risked his life for you." I told him about everything: Luke's invasion plan, the labyrinth entrance at camp, Delos' workshop, Kronos' golden coffin. Briarius just shook his head. "I cannot, demigod. I do not have a finger gun to win this game." To prove his point, he made 100 finger guns. Are you going to sit down or not? No? Okay. "Maybe that's why monsters fade," I said. "Maybe it's not about what the mortals believe. Maybe it's because you give up on yourself." His pure brown eyes regarded me. His face morphed into an expression I recognized. Shame. Then he turned and trudged off down the corridor until he was lost in the shadows. "Can you land, please?" Tyson sobbed. "It's okay." Grover hesitantly patted his shoulder, which must have taken all his courage. Tyson sneezed. "It is not okay, goat boy. He was my hero." I wanted to make him feel better, but I wasn't sure what to say. Finally, Annabeth stood and shouldered her backpack. "Come on, guys. This pit is making me nervous. Let's find a better place to camp for the night." We settled in a corridor made of huge marble blocks. It looked like it could have been part of a Greek tomb, with bronze torch holders fastened to the walls. It had to be an older part of the maze, and Annabeth decided this was a good sign. "We must be close to Daedalus' workshop," she said. "Get some rest, everybody. We'll keep going in the morning." "How will we know when it's morning?" Grover asked. "Just rest," she insisted. Grover didn't need to be told twice. He pulled a heap of straw out of his pack, ate some of it, made a pillow out of the rest, and he was snoring in no time. Tyson took longer getting to sleep. He tinkered with some metal scraps from his building kit for a while, but whatever he was making, he wasn't happy with it. He kept disassembling the pieces. "I'm sorry I lost your shield," I told him. "You worked so hard to repair it." Tyson looked up. His eye was bloodshot from crying. "Do not worry, brother. You saved me. You wouldn't have had to if Briareus had helped." "He was just scared," I said. "I'm sure he'll get over it." "He is not strong," Tyson said. "He is not important anymore." He heaved a big, sad sigh, then closed his eye. The metal pieces fell out of his hand, still unassembled, and Tyson began to snore. I tried to fall asleep myself, but I couldn't. Something about getting chased by a large dragon lady with poisoned swords made it real hard to relax. I picked up my bedroll and dragged it over to where Annabeth was sitting, keeping watch. I sat down next to her. "You should sleep," she said. "Can't. You doing all right?" "Sure. First day leading the quest, just great." "We'll get there," I said. "We'll find the workshop before Luke does." She brushed her hair out of her face. She had a smudge of dirt on her chin, and I imagined what she must have looked like when she was little, wandering around the country with Thalia and Luke. Once she'd saved them from the mansion of the evil Cyclops when she was only 7. Even when she was scared, like now, I knew she had a lot of guts. "I just wish this quest was logical," she complained. "I mean, we're traveling, but we have no idea where we'll end up. How can you walk from New York to California in a day?" "Space isn't the same in the maze." I know, it's just..." She looked at me hesitantly. "Percy, I was kidding myself. All that planning and reading, I don't have a clue where we're going." "You're doing great. Besides, we never know what we're doing. It always works out. Remember Circe's Island?" She snorted. "You made a cute guinea pig." "And Waterland? How you got us thrown off that ride?" "I got us thrown off? That was totally your fault." "See? It'll be fine." She smiled, which I was glad to see, but the smile faded quickly. "Percy, what did Hera mean when she said you already knew the way to get through the maze?" "I don't know," I admitted. "Honestly." "You'd tell me if you did?" "Sure. Maybe what?" "Maybe if you told me the last line of the prophecy, it would help." Annabeth shivered. "Not here. Not in the dark." "What about the choice Janus mentioned? Hera said..." "Stop!" Annabeth snapped. Then she took a shaky breath. "I'm sorry, Percy. I'm just stressed, but I've got a lot to think about. I've got to think about it." We sat in silence, listening to the strange creaks and groans in the maze, the echoes of stones grinding together as tunnels changed, grew, and expanded. The dark made me think about the visions I'd seen of Nico D'Angelo, and suddenly I realized something. "Nico was down here somewhere," I said. "That's how he disappeared from camp. He found the labyrinth, then he found a path that led down even farther, to the underworld. But now he's back in the maze. He's coming after me." Annabeth was quiet for a long time. "Percy, I hope you're wrong, but if you're right..." She stared at the flashlight beam, casting a dim circle on the stone wall. I had a feeling she was thinking about her prophecy. I'd never seen her look more tired. How about I take first watch?" I said. "I'll wake you if anything happens." Annabeth looked like she wanted to protest, but she just nodded, slumped onto her bedroll, and closed her eyes. When it was my turn to sleep, I dreamed I was back in the old man's labyrinth prison. It looked more like a workshop now. Tables were littered with measuring instruments. A forge burned red hot in the corner. The boy I had seen in the last dream was stoking the bellows, except he was taller now, almost my age. A weird funnel device was attached to the forge's chimney, trapping the smoke and heat and channeling it through a pipe in the floor next to a big bronze manhole cover. It was daytime, so the sky above was blue, but the walls of the maze cast deep shadows across the workshop. After being in tunnels so long, I found it weird that part of the labyrinth could be open to the sky. Somehow, that made the maze seem like an even crueler place. The old man looked sickly. He was terribly thin, his hands raw and red from working. White hair covered his eyes, and his tunic was smudged with grease. He was bent over a table working on some kind of long metal patchwork, like a swath of chainmail. He picked up a delicate curl of bronze and fitted it into place. "Done," he announced. "It's done." He picked up his project. It was so beautiful my heart leaped. Metal wings constructed from thousands of interlocking bronze feathers. There were 2 sets. One still lay on the table. Daedalus stretched the frame, and the wings expanded to 20 feet. Part of me knew it could never fly. It was too heavy, and there'd be no way to get off the ground. But the craftsmanship was amazing. Metal feathers caught the light and flashed 30 different shades of gold. The boy left the shadows, left the bellows, and ran over to see. He grinned, despite the fact that he was grimy and sweaty. "Father, you're a genius!" The old man smiled. "Tell me something I don't know, Icarus. Now hurry. It'll take at least an hour to attach them. Come." "You first," Icarus said. The old man protested, but Icarus insisted. "You made them, father. You should get the honor of wearing them first." The boy attached a leather harness to his father's chest, like climbing gear, with straps that ran from his shoulders to his wrists. Then he began fastening on the wings, using a metal canister that looked like an enormous hot glue gun. "The wax compound should hold for several hours," Daedalus said nervously as his son worked. "But we must let it set first. And we would do well to avoid flying too high or too low. The sea will let wet the wax's seals, and the sun's heat will loosen them," the boy finished. "Yes, father, we've been through this 1,000,000 times." "One cannot be too careful." "I have complete faith in your inventions, father. No one has ever been as smart as you." The old man's eyes shone. It was obvious he loved his son more than anything in the world. Now I will do your wings, and give mine a chance to set properly. Come." It was slow going. The old man's hands fumbled with straps. He had a hard time keeping the wings in position while he sealed them. His own metal wings seemed to weigh him down, getting in the way while he tried to work. "Too slow," the old man muttered. "I am too slow." "Take your time, father," the boy said. "The guards aren't due until—" Boom! The workshop doors shuttered. Icarus had barred them from the inside with a wooden brace, but they still shook on their hinges. "Hurry!" Icarus said. Boom! Boom! Something heavy was slamming into the doors. The brace held, but a crack appeared in the left door. Daedalus worked furiously. A drop of hot wax spilled onto Icarus's shoulder. The boy winced, but did not cry out. When his left wing was sealed to the straps, Daedalus began working on the right. "We must have more time," Daedalus murmured. "They are too early. We need more time for the seal to hold." "It'll be fine," Icarus said, as his father finished the right wing. "Help me with the manhole." Crash! The doors splintered and the head of a bronze battering ram emerged through the breach. Axes cleared the debris, and 2 armed guards entered the room, followed by the king with the golden crown and the spear-shaped beard. "Well, well," the king said with a cruel smile. "Going somewhere?" Daedalus and his son froze, their metal wings glimmering on their back. "We're leaving, Minos," the old king said. King Minos chuckled. "I was curious to see how far you'd get on this little project before I dashed your hopes. I must say I'm impressed." The king admired their wings. "You look like metal chickens," he decided. "Perhaps we should pluck you and make a soup." The guards laughed stupidly. "Metal chickens," one repeated. "Soup." "Shut up," the king said. Then he turned again to Daedalus. "You let my daughter escape, old man. You drove my wife to madness. You killed my monster and made me the laughingstock of the Mediterranean. You will never escape me." Icarus grabbed the wax gun and sprayed it at the king, who stepped back in surprise. The guards rushed forward, but each got a stream of hot wax in his face. "The vent!" Icarus yelled to his father. "Get them!" King Minos raged. Together, the old man and the son pried open the manhole, and a column of hot air blasted out of the ground. The king watched, incredulous, as the inventor and the son shot into the sky on their bronze wings, carried by the updraft. "Shoot them!" the king yelled, but his guards had brought no bows. One threw his sword in desperation, but Icarus and Daedalus were already out of reach. They wheeled above the maze in the king's palace, then zoomed across the city of Knossos and out past the rocky shores of Crete. Icarus laughed. "Free! Father, you did it!" The boy spread his wings to their full limit and soared away on the wind. "Wait!" Daedalus called. Be careful! But Icarus was already out over the open sea, heading north and delighting in their good luck. He soared up and scared an eagle out of its flight path, then plummeted toward the sea like he was born to fly, pulling out of the nosedive at the last second. His sandals skimmed the waves. Stop that! Daedalus called, but the wind carried his voice away. His son was drunk on his own freedom. Okay, that's fine. The old man struggled to catch up, gliding clumsily after his son. They were miles from Crete, over deep sea, when Icarus looked back and saw his father's worried expression. Don't worry, father. You're a genius. I trust your handiwork. The first metal feather shook loose from the wings and fluttered away. Then another. Icarus wobbled in midair. Suddenly he was shedding bronze feathers, which twirled away from him like a flock of frightened birds. Icarus! His father cried. Glide! Extend the wings! Stay as still as possible! But Icarus flapped his arms, desperately trying to reassert control. The left wing went first, ripping away from the straps. Father! Icarus cried, and then he fell. Did you steal my thing? You stole my thing, you little brat. And then he fell, the wing stripped away until he was just a boy in a climbing harness and a white tunic, his arms extending in a useless attempt to glide. I woke with a start, feeling like I was falling. The corridor was dark. In the constant moaning of the labyrinth, I thought I could hear the anguished cry of Daedalus calling his son's name as Icarus, his only joy, plummeted toward the sea 300 feet below. Sorry for the noise. I'll just leave it off for now. There was no morning in the maze, but once everyone woke up and had a fabulous breakfast of granola bars and juice boxes, we kept traveling. I didn't mention my dream. Something about it had really freaked me out, and I didn't think the others needed to know that. The old stone tunnels changed to dirt with cedar beams, like a gold mine or something. Annabeth started getting agitated. This isn't right, she said. It should be stone. We came to a cave where stalactites hung low from the ceiling. In the center of the dirt floor was a rectangular pit, like a grave. Grover shivered. It smells like the underworld in here. Then I saw something in the edge of the pit, a foil wrapper. I shined my flashlight into the hole and saw a half-chewed cheeseburger floating in brown, carbonated muck. Nico, I said. He was summoning the dead again. Tyson whimpered. Ghosts were here. I don't like ghosts. We've got to find him. I don't know why, but standing at the edge of that pit gave me a sense of urgency. Nico was close. I could feel it. I couldn't let him wander around down here, alone except for the dead. I started to run. Percy! Annabeth called. I ducked into a tunnel and saw a light up ahead. By the time Annabeth, Tyson, and Grover caught up with me, I was staring at daylight streaming through the set of bars above my head. We were under a steel grate made out of metal pipes. I could see trees and blue sky. Where are we? I wondered. Then a shadow fell across the grate, and a cow stared down at me. It looked like a normal cow, except that it was a weird color, bright red like a cherry. I didn't know cows came in that color. The cow mooed, put one hoof out tentatively on the bars, then backed away. It's a cattle guard, Grover said. A what? They put them on the gates of ranches so cows can't get out. They can't walk on them. How do you know that? Grover huffed indignantly. Believe me, if you had hooves, you'd know about cattle guards. They're annoying. I turned to Annabeth. Didn't Hera say something about a ranch? We need to check it out. Nico might be up there. She hesitated. All right, but how do we get out? Tyson solved that problem by hitting the cattle guard with both hands. It popped off and went flying out of sight. We heard a clang and a startled moo. Tyson blushed. Sorry, cow, he called. Then he gave us a boost out of the tunnel. We were on a ranch, all right. Rolling hills stretched to the horizon, dotted with oak trees and cactuses and boulders. A barbed wire fence ran from the gate in either direction. Cherry-colored cows roamed around, grazing on clumps of grass. Red cattle, Annabeth said. The cattle of the sun. I apologize for the loud noise of the kitten playing with the mic. Not a kitten toy. If you want to sit on my lap, you have to behave. She says purr. Look, a hairband. play with that. Hang on, I'm just going to get rid of the kitten real quick. Ready? Set? There she goes. What? I asked. They're sacred to Apollo. Holy cows. Exactly, but what are they doing? Wait, Grover said. Listen. At first, everything seemed quiet, but then I heard it. The distant baying of dogs. The sound got louder. Then the underbrush rustled, and 2 dogs broke through. Except it wasn't 2 dogs, it was 1 dog with 2 heads. It looked like a greyhound, long and snaky and sleek brown, but its neck V'd into 2 heads, both of them snapping and snarling, and generally not very glad to see us. Bad Janus dog, Tyson cried. Arf! Grover told it, and raised a hand in greeting. The 2-headed dog bared its teeth. I guess it wasn't impressed that Grover could speak animal. Then its master lumbered out of the woods, and I realized the dog was the least of our problems. He was a huge guy with stark white hair, a straw cowboy hat, and a braided white beard, the kind of like Father Time if Father Time went redneck and got totally jacked. He was wearing jeans, a "Don't Mess with Texas" t-shirt, and a denim jacket with the sleeves ripped off so you could see his muscles. On his right bicep was a crossed swords tattoo. He held a wooden club about the size of a nuclear warhead, and with 6-inch spikes bristling from the business ends. Heel, Orthus, he told the dog. The dog growled at us once more, just to make his feelings clear, then circled back to his master's feet. The man looked us up and down, keeping his club ready. What have we got here? He asked. Cattle rustlers? Just travelers, Annabeth said. We're on a quest. The man's eye twitched. Half-bloods, eh? I started to say, How did you know? Annabeth put her hand on my arm. I'm Annabeth, daughter of Athena. This is Percy, son of Poseidon. Grover the satyr, Tyson the Cyclops. The man finished. Yes, I can see that. He glowered at me. And I know of half-bloods because I am one, sonny. I'm Eurytion, cowherd for this here ranch. Son of Ares. You came through the labyrinth like the other one, I reckon. The other one? I asked. You mean Nico D'Angelo? We get a lot of visitors here from the labyrinth, Eurytion said darkly. Not many ever leave. Wow, I said. I feel welcome. Come over here. The cowherd glanced behind him like someone was watching. Then he lowered his voice. I'm only going to say this once, demigod. Demigods, get back in the maze now, before it's too late. We're not leaving, Annabeth insisted. Not until we see this other demigod. Please. Eurytion grunted. Then you leave me no choice, missy. I've got to take you to see the boss. I didn't feel like we were hostages or anything. Okay, kitten, go away. Off you get. Shoot. Don't fall down. Just go. Leave. Go bug your brothers. I didn't feel like we were hostages or anything. Eurytion walked alongside us with his club across his shoulder. Orthus, the 2-headed dog, growled. Orthus, the 2-headed dog, growled a lot and sniffed at Grover's legs, and shot into the bushes once in a while to chase animals, but Eurytion kept him more or less under control. We walked down a dirt path that seemed to go